Sont les Palestiniens l'armée qui vont accompagner le Mahdi? Y a-t-il des hadiths du prophète sallallahu alayhi wa sallam qui parlent des Palestiniens? Il y en a, effectivement. Et je vais montrer une vidéo. C'est une vidéo qui part sur la fin du temps, qui parle du Dajjal et qui parle des combattants. Et c'est important de savoir. Les gens qui scrollent direct parce que ça ne leur intéresse pas, tu vois, de savoir qu'est-ce qui va arriver à la fin du temps. Malheureusement, la grande majorité, ça va être les gens qui vont suivre le Dajjal. Et c'est connu. C'est même les oulémas qui en parlent, qui vont pas connaître les signes. Ils vont pas connaître le Dajjal, ils vont pas connaître le Mahdi, ils vont pas connaître le Malhama, comme ils disent, le grand combat. Et ce sont les gens, malheureusement, qui vont suivre le Dajjal. Il y a certaines images sur le Dajjal, etc. Je ne suis pas trop d'accord. Mais l'explication, elle est vraiment bien faite. Sur TikTok, ça va être 2 vidéos de 10 minutes. Et sur YouTube, ce sera une vidéo de 20 minutes. Allez, je lance la vidéo, on regarde ensemble. Inch'Allah. Bismillah.
And he said, this fight will be in the Sham. And he said, the best of all people will be in the Sham. And the ones who will rise against them will be in the Sham. He even said, أنت في رباط ما دمت في الشام. You are you are standing guard as if you are in a war, standing guard until the last hour, so long as you are in the Sham, meaning the Sham will never cease from battles or from always standing guard, will always be at risk in a Sham. I went and lived in Lebanon for 4 years only, and this was the most peaceful time in the early 90s. And in that time, 2 potential wars happened, 2 things happened over there that were potentially going to return back to civil war. And it was always at an unrest. People are expecting anything to happen any day. From ever since we know a Sham, it's been like that. Wars have passed through there and battles. It's not because it's a bad country, a'udhu billah. It is actually a blessed place. But look, the good and evil always fight. And the good and evil will keep on combating to the last hour. This land, the Sham, has the good in it. Now it's mixed. But the good will always be in the Sham and the evil will always be fighting it. Wherever the good is, the evil is fighting. Where the evil is, the good is fighting it. Abadan. And Rasul told us, الصراع بين الحق والباطل. The combat between truth and false will always be there till the last hour. And the false will always be a little bit ahead. Why? Because the truth will beat the false, then another false will come. It's easy to make up false things, but the truth remains the truth. It never changes, never adds, never diminishes. So in a Sham, you're always in battle. And Rasul told us in those days, the best of all believers will be in that place. The best of all of them will be in that place. Rasul asked Allah to barik in Sham, to bless Sham and its people. And over there, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, will be these battles. There will also be a group of people who are also in Sham, and Rasul spoke about them in particular. And we don't know their names or their exact nationality, but we know where they're situated. Rasul told us in the Sahih Hadith, there will come a time, he's telling this to his companions, where there will be a group of believers who will be on the truth. They will have learnt the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ very well. They would have digested it and taught their children well. So they live the life of Islam, even though the odds are all against them from everywhere. But they live it, even if it's only a small amount of them. He said, the people will gather against them, and they will keep on fighting and protecting the symbols of Islam and the truth and justice. He said, Wallahi, one of their martyrs is better than 50 of yours, of the companions. They said, Ya Rasulullah, who are these people, yani, and why? Why is this the case? He said, لِأَنَّكُمْ تَجِدُونَ أَعْوَانَ وَلَا يَجِدُونَ. You, alhamdulillah, you fight, and your war is amazing, and your martyrdom is amazing, and you fight for justice and protect the innocent and all your blood and everything. However, you have helpers. You've got helpers now. You've got supporters, Muslims supporting one another. But them, when their time comes, they will look everywhere and they will find no helpers. Their brothers will desert them, their Muslim brothers will desert them, the countries will desert them, the leaders will not help them, and they are only on their own. They said, Ya Rasulullah, where are they found? He said, in those days they'll be على أكناف بيت المقدس or بأكناف بيت المقدس, on the outskirts or the borders of Jerusalem. They're there. Are they there now? Probably. Will they be there more later on? Allahu Alam, maybe. But to the best of my guess is that they are there now. Now fighting, protecting. And they are not really known or heard about in the media because we know what the media is all about. Changing false into truth and truth into false, as they suit, whoever's in power. So this is what's going on in there, Rasul ﷺ told us about. He even told us the truth is the false and the false becomes the truth, and the leaders are the ones who betray, and the leaders are the ones who are not qualified. And the people who are placed in leadership and responsibility are the ones not qualified for the responsibility. The people who are qualified and the true leaders are put backwards, meaning they're put underneath these betrayers and these unqualified people. As he said, إِذَا وُسِّدَتِ الْأَمَانَةُ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَهْلِهَا فَارْتَقِبِ السَّاعَةِ. Rasul ﷺ said, when the trust or the responsibility is given to people who are not qualified for it, then wait for the last hour to come, meaning await for it. It's very soon. Very soon. Al-Mahdi's army will fight, and these people will come with them. And they will, in the end, they will be victorious against this Roman army. And Rasul ﷺ said, as Ibn Abbas narrates this hadith, radiallahu anhu, in a long hadith where a man saw smoke in the sky and he ran to Ibn Abbas and said to him, the last hour has come, the last hour has come. He was reclining, then he sat up and he said, no, the last hour could not have come yet. And he said, the last hour will not come until the Muslims fight the Romans bidabiq. Dabiq is a place close to in the Sham, a little bit outside of Medina, in Dabiq. So you can see Rasulullah telling us in that area, outside of Medina, not directly in Saudi, or in Medina because it's in Saudi, but outside of it, somewhere in Dabiq, in the mid part of Sham, of the Middle East that we know of today. He said, you will fight the Romans in Dabiq, and he said, you will fight them tremendously until the flying object will fall from the sky, and all of this will happen to you. Then finally the rest of the Muslims that are left, men, women and children, they'll come up and they'll fight them and they'll be victorious. He said, حين لا يفرح بغنيمة ولا بميراث. Ibn Abbas said, the day when there will be no rejoice or excitement over any inheritance that was left behind or over any booty of war. Because if there was 100 people in a family, 99 of them would have perished and died in this war. So it's a fierce war, terrible war. It's about to come. And a large reason for it being terrible is the disunity of the Muslims, the sectarianism that we are now in, the groupism that we are now in, the disunity of the Muslims, following particular men, not following Rasulullah ﷺ, but following particular men, in a time where the truth is evaluated by the man they follow, meaning whatever the man is, that's the truth. It should be the opposite. It should be that the truth is there and you judge the man by the truth. You don't judge the truth by the man. And today it's like that. You judge the truth by the man. If you like the man, you say that's the truth and you don't listen to anyone else. The truth is there. Rasulullah showed us to it as clear as the sun. So this biased approach that we have and prejudice has spread throughout the world. And this is why we have reached what we have reached. Rasulullah said, 80 nations will gather against you. 80 raya, 80 flags, 80 nations will gather against the Muslims in Sham. We will win. The final victory is for the Muslims. However, we'll be in that state. And these Muslims will go also to a place that the Prophet ﷺ called it Constantinople. The Turkish people would know where that place is. And they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, where is this place? He said, have you heard of that land which is part inland and part of it's in water? They said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. Istanbul, Constantinople, those areas. He said, the Muslims will regain it. And it was twice the Muslims will take it. They took it over once, it will be taken from them, or it will be transformed and divided, and then it will be taken once again under the Sharia of Islam. He said, that time when the Romans are defeated, the Muslims will be in power. And they will go to Constantinople. And they will take it over with 3 takbirs. They'll come to the first part, reciting the words Allahu Akbar. As soon as the people of that part hear him, they will give in the land. They'll give it in. They won't even fight. They'll keep going into the land. They'll reach half of it, saying the words Allahu Akbar, and the people will just give it to them. They'll say, we can't beat these people. Until finally they take the rest of it. It'll get worse before it gets better. And whether it be Muslims who convert into becoming non-Muslims, apostate, or whether they Christians take over, or whoever other non-Muslims take over, this place will get worse before it gets better. And the Prophet ﷺ said, every generation that comes is worse than Their state is worse than the generation before. Finally, it'll be called out and it'll be said, please run back to your family and homes, for Ad-Dajjal has come out. Now, this is the second major sign I want to discuss. Ad-Dajjal, literally in Arabic, the word Ad-Dajjal means the liar, the betrayer, the illusionist, all these words. The trickster, or more than that, but illusionist, the deceiver, Ad-Dajjal, Dajjal. In every way that you can think of lies, all of its forms, Ad-Dajjal will have all these forms. And the worst, the most dangerous thing Ad-Dajjal will have is the psychological deception. Dajjal, the worst, what's so bad? We've had many wars before and Muslims have been wiped out in countries, in places before. But this Dajjal, he doesn't wipe out or take over the rule or authority or power in the world really by weapons of mass destruction or all that stuff. He takes it over by the psychological war. And what do we live in today? What kind of wars do you think today are the strongest and most dangerous wars? It's not the wars of blood and mass destruction. No, it is the ideological wars that we are living now. You could be living in the most peaceful country and through the internet and television, our youth, our Muslim youth are being destroyed mentally, psychologically, where there is, how can I explain it? We are now in a time of what we can call something like a very complex reverse psychological war, reverse psychology, mixed with other deceptions. You look at the evil and you think it's good, and it comes to you with a smile. And our youth think it's okay, until religion is looked at as a restriction rather than a protection. We're not going to dwell too much on that, but what I do want to let you know is that at the moment, the Dajjal will not come until there are prerequisites. There are certain occurrences that are going to happen before the Dajjal comes out. And this man, Ad-Dajjal, will come out at a time where the world is ready to accept him in his Dajjal, in his deception. He'll find followers. Ad-Dajjal, Rasul ﷺ called him Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal or Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. Why? The word Al-Masih, the one wiped off. Or because referring to one of his eyes, it looks like it's wiped. The light has gone away from it. It's dark and he can't see with it. One eye he can't see. And it will look like it's flat, like a grape that has its liquid sucked out of it. Al-Masih. And sometimes Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. The Christ, the liar. The Christ, the liar. In the Bible is called the Antichrist, or in Judaism, Antichrist. So he is an Antichrist against Isa alayhi salam. Rasul called him Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. The Christ who is the liar, meaning he's not the real Christ, but he will make people think that he is. This man, Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal, Rasul told us, will cause fitna to all people with everything that Allah has given him of powers. He will make rain come down as he wills wherever he wants it to come, and he'll deny it from the people he doesn't want to have rain. He can revive the land with crops and plantation, and he can cause another land to be dead and never have crops and plantation. So no food for its people. And many other such powers which Allah has given him in order to test the people as one of the final tests for mankind towards the end of the last time. As for Isa alayhi salam, in order to distinguish him from him, Isa alayhi salam used to heal the blind bi'idhnillah, and he could raise the dead bi'idhnillah. Really, like in real. Ad-Dajjal can't do these, but he will be an illusion. He will make it look like he has risen people from the dead. And I'm going to explain that in a minute, inshallah. He is also called Al-Masih, not only because of the eye that looks like it's been wiped off, but also the word Masih in Arabic means that the one who will spread out through the world. He will go everywhere in the world. And it's also true. He will go everywhere in the world. He will reach every place in the world and occupy it except for two places. Mecca and Medina, or Tiba, or Yathrib, as it's called. It's got three names, it's got several names. Al-Masih calls it, Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal calls it Tiba. Tiba means Medina and Mecca. He will not be able to set foot, he will not be able to go into it. But he will reach its borders and he'll try to deceive the people who are in there. So Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal, he'll first come out to say, I am Christ, I am Isa alayhi salam. Rasul describes him, Aj'adu Shar. He's got very coarse hair. He is a man from the children of Adam, When he comes out, the believers will know him, and they will not be deceived by him. He will have 3 letters on his forehead, kafara, which means kufr or kafar, the hider of the truth or the rejecter of the truth. He will be young in age. He's not old, probably in his mid-30s. He's red-skinned, meaning he's more reddish in color when you look at him. He's not tall, he's short, reasonably short, relatively short. But his body is very stocky, it's huge. Like when you look at him, you say, whoa, he is a huge man. But he's very stocky, he's not too tall, he's quite short actually. His skin is coarse as well, and his face looks rough, and his forehead is wide. Ajla al-jabha, his forehead is wide. His chest is wide shoulders. His right eye looks like it's been wiped off, like that grape. The right eye he can't see with, he can only see with his left. And this eye doesn't look like it's poking out, nor does it look like it's hollow. It just looks, as I said, like a dry piece of grape. His left eye has got an extra piece of meat on it. So it looks like it's got a piece of extra meat either underneath it or on top of it. So Rasulullah describing him in detail here. And the letters on his forehead are either, Rasulullah told us, they're either cut, meaning letter by letter, or they're joined. But they mean the same thing. Every Muslim will be able to read it except the kafir. And one of his other descriptions is that he is impotent. He cannot have children. He cannot have children. Nor does he get married. These are some of his detailed descriptions which the Prophet ﷺ told us about. So Dajjal is not a metaphor. It's not, some people they say to you, the Dajjal, what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about is the television. The television is one-eyed and it lies to you. No. Rasulullah ﷺ gave a particular description because the TV doesn't have coarse hair, right? And it doesn't have 2 eyes, okay? And it doesn't have the 3 letters, kafara. You can play beautiful Quran on the TV if you want. There is a man at the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, just tell you his story. His name was nicknamed Ibn Sayyad, Safi ibn Sayyad. His name was Safi, son of Sayyad. Has anyone heard about him? Safi ibn Sayyad? No? طيب, we'll tell you his story. This man, Safi ibn Sayyad, he lived at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And he was a young boy who was raised originally from a Jewish family. And he hated the Prophet ﷺ immensely. He was grown to hate him a lot. And they used to say that this young boy, Safi ibn Sayyad, he was able to tell you what you're thinking. He had these certain abilities. True story. And it's in the Sahih, it's not something made up. And Rasul ﷺ heard about him. And he wanted to go one day to find out whether he was really the Dajjal or not. He goes, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu was with him. And they were going towards the village where Safi ibn Sayyad was. And he was sitting down, playing with something, when his mother, when Rasul ﷺ was trying to come, Umar al-Khattab describes, it says, he's coming from tree to tree. Rasul ﷺ is hiding behind the trees, trying to come closer to this boy to try and hear what he's saying. He was saying some things, we want to hear him, what he says. As Rasul ﷺ approached Safi very closely, he got very close and started to hear what he's saying. Suddenly the boy's mother saw the Prophet ﷺ and she said, Ya Safi, dhaka Muhammad. Muhammad's there, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Safi looked up and stopped talking. He started getting angry. Like that, he hated him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for no reason. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if only his mother didn't see me, I could have listened for a few more words and I would have known whether he is the Dajjal or not. Because people were talking about him being the Dajjal himself. That he will rise from there and he will be the Dajjal. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the boy, he said, أخبأت لك شيئا. I hid something inside of my brain, inside of my chest, that I want you to try and figure out what it is. And the boy looked, and he frowned a bit and he said, Ad-dukh, ad-dukh. I can only get ad-dukh, ad-dukh. The Prophet ﷺ said, La ala qadruk. May your power never rise beyond that. And Rasul ﷺ said to him, do you believe that I am the messenger of God? He said, only if you believe that I'm the messenger of God. So he's a bit of a cocky dude, isn't it? I'm the messenger of God. Prophet ﷺ got up and left. Umar al-Khattab asked him, what was that ad-dukh? What did you hide inside of you? What was that word that you kept hidden? He said, I hid the word ad-dukhan, which means the smoke. And he guessed half of it.
Je trouvais que c'était un très bon exposé. J'ai pas trop aimé les images sur le Dajjal à la fin parce que de toute façon, On sait environ comment il va être, mais on ne sait pas mettre une image sur lui, hein, en fait. On ne sait pas comment il est. Alhamdulillah. Je trouvais que aussi le hadith était quand même bien flagrant, tu vois. On sait difficilement dire que ce ne sont pas les Palestiniens, puisque déjà, il a dit la place qui était Jérusalem, et voilà, quoi. Il ne faut même pas réfléchir, quoi. Donc, alhamdulillah. Ça fait un peu du bien au cœur de savoir que, oui, les Palestiniens, ils sont tellement forts dans leur religion, tu vois. Et ils sont tellement braves. Devant Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, c'est les plus grands martyrs. Donc, je sais que ça fait mal, etc. On a tous pleuré pendant des semaines. Mais vient un moment où on doit être résilié et se dire, c'est comme ça. Et Inch'Allah, si ça vient, ça vient. Si, comme j'ai déjà dit dans des autres vidéos, si la grande guerre, elle vient maintenant. Et c'est écrit de toute façon, c'est comme ça. Donc, merci d'avoir regardé la vidéo. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.